Les Kiss has named his first Wallabies squad, folks. He has taken over from Joe Schmidt. Remember, this was a planned change. Joe's time comes to an end. The now former Reds coach takes over. He's named his first squad. There are some ins and outs. It's largely pretty stable. But we'll go through the changes that he's made, what he's been highlighting in the press conference with the initial squad. What does he need to potentially work on? Because he has said it's going to be different under him because he's a different person from Joe. And you guys can let us know your thoughts. Fixtures-wise, remember, there's no Rugby Championship this year, so they have Japan coming to town. Les has already highlighted some potential mind games coming in from Eddie Jones, but he highlighted the fact that he's also a very good coach, so he's not underplaying the Japanese threat because, as he said, they gave Ireland a good crack in that game in Newcastle as well. They also beat the Italians, so that's first up for Les. Then they've got the Pumas, the Box, and Bledisloe Cup action against the All Blacks too. How about the squad itself? No wholesale changes. The most obvious change is the fact that Lukan Salakaia-Loto is back in. Les was his coach at the Reds, and Salakaia-Loto was like the one really kind of seemingly glaringly obvious omission from Joe with his July squad. You feel like there must have been something going on off the field that kept Salakaia-Loto out. It's a big, powerful unit, as Les mentioned in the press conference. On the field, you feel like there was no reason not to pick Lukan, and Les has picked Lukan. So the obvious thing has absolutely happened. You can bet your bottom dollar he should be the starting tight head lock for the Wallabies under Les. They've retained Masotero, though, who was given his first cap under Joe in the July period. He was the kind of interesting guy to be named ahead of Lukan based on Super Rugby form, but kind of different players. But otherwise, things are pretty stable in that regard. The same hookers in BPA, NASA, and Pollard, and the same props, except for they've brought back in Isaac Kailea and dropped James Slipper. Les did mention they want to deepen their stocks at loosehead, so I'm assuming that means, James is going to retire sooner rather than later again, and we've got a World Cup on the horizon, so we'd rather have a guy at his stage of the career than James. I mean, Kailea had a solid enough season, but largely from the bench for the Tars, so I think they probably think that they can get more out of him than continuing to rely on the old dog, James Slipper. I'll be sad if that is James Slipper's last game for the Wallabies, but hey, if it was, they went on a big win over the Italians. The captain is still the same. Harry Wilson has been retained. The back rowers are also largely unchanged. The same scrum halves, the same fly halves. Declan Meredith retains his spot. Remember, Carter Gordon was injured in after that first game against the Irish, so he's also in the squad. There's no change there. Isaac Henry is the one uncapped guy in the squad. They highlighted the fact that he can cover 12 and 13, so that bit of versatility. And the fact that Leonikitau is on the unavailable list is unfortunate, but we'll get to that in a second. They highlighted Suali'i as a 13 for now, but Les is not ruling out him potentially in the back three at some point. I wouldn't mind, because Les did mention that they want to be innovative, to see if they can do what they kind of used to do with Israel Folau at times, like unleash that kind of aerial aspect to his game, because he is very special in that area. You don't get the best out of him at 13 for that, but he'll obviously need to develop maybe more of a kicking game as well, because in the modern game, wingers who can't kick tend to be, they can be liabilities, but we'll see. The other wingers and outside backs, like fullbacks, Tom Wright and Jock Campbell, Peach, Dalgunu, Potter, and Jorgensen and what are all pretty much stable. So the squad is not really there's no real huge turnover. Lukan being back, I think, is the main talking point, and Slipper's omission potentially. No Champion de Krebney, no Josh Fluke, but otherwise, pretty stable stuff from Les. The unavailable list is genuinely pretty long. Tom Robertson, Blake Shop, Ethan Dobbins as your front rowers. Skelton is on the unavailable list, and Les did highlight the fact that he's happy to kind of cast the net pretty wide in building his squad, but this squad is largely locally based, but Skelton was highlighted as definitively being unavailable, so he's in their thoughts for potential selection. Tom Hooper is also on the unavailable list, likewise Longy Gleeson in the forwards. It's quite a lengthy list, and the backs is pretty similar. Jake Gordon, Henry Robertson, Tom Lyon has had no luck this year. Leonikitau is probably the biggest loss. Apparently he's just had minor surgery, so hopefully he's going to be back sooner rather than later. And then Zach Lomax is likewise in with a mention as being unavailable after a pretty good season with the Force. With his playing style, they just said that they want to unleash what they're good at. That's what Les said. He wants to unleash what they're good at. I, for one, hope they can get a little bit more territorial pressure on their opponents, because one thing that we did see in the July period was the Wallabies were very good at converting the chances they had. Like, their red zone efficiency was quite incredible, but they just, in the first 2 games, especially against the French and the Irish, just didn't get enough chances. Like, they lost the territorial battle in both those games. Otherwise, we were seeing some pretty good numbers, like compared to last year, where the Wallabies kind of X factor, defenders beating in clean breaks, and that kind of punchy stuff was a little bit lacking. So we did see a bit more of that this July, but as I said, it's hard if you're down the wrong end of the field. But yeah, Les seems to be pretty optimistic. He's going to tinker with the squad. He'll make his changes. It's obviously not wholesale. Lucan being back, I think you get a big tick from most Wallabies fans in that regard. But you guys let us know your thoughts. How do you think they go against Japan? They're by no means going to be pushovers. He seems to know Eddie Jones pretty well and is already, as I said, predicting mind games. But yeah, 1 game in Japan, then 1 game back in Australia in the August period, 8th of August and 15th of August, I think it is. So we'll see how they go. If you're a Wallabies fan, let us know what your expectations are. As a New Zealand fan, I want this to go good. I want the Wallabies to start trucking up the world rankings, and I want a competitive Bledisloe Cup later on in this year. But you guys take care. Subscribe if you haven't done so already if you want some more Wallabies chat. And yeah, talk to you guys again soon. Later.